welcome to today's practice. Today's going to be a little bit different in the respect that it's going to be a Vinyasa To Yin practice. So the first half of the class is going to be quite a strong Vinyasa flow, and then the second part of the class is going to be more gently held postures. We don't use muscle to hold ourselves there, we just sit in the posture. We're coming into the fascia and the connective tissue with the body. And we will also hold those postures a little bit longer. As I appreciate, not all of you will be that used to practicing yin yoga, so we're not going to hold the postures for the 5 to 7 minutes that most yin postures are held for, because that's probably going to be a bit too intense at first. So if you are an experienced yin yogi, I'm afraid it's not going to be that sort of length of hold. It's going to be 1 to 2 minutes, just a bit of a taster of what that sort of practice is. I'm just going to put a quick note in before we start. It's generally not advised to practice yin yoga when your body is very warm, because it kind of defeats the object of gaining flexibility. So yin yoga is, along the spiritual side, the physical side of yin yoga is more finding depth and flexibility. Now, if you practice yin yoga when your muscles are very warm, so we'll probably feel quite warm after the flow, you might slightly overstretch and feel like, oh, I'm really supple. Just be aware of that, and maybe work about 80% of your depth rather than 100%. But personally, I really like doing Vinyasa to Yin yoga practices. I follow a lot of teachers that do that on YouTube, and I really enjoy their classes. So do let me know what you think about this practice today, and if you like it, let me know, and we'll do more of them in the future. And if you don't like it, also let me know, and we won't do any more of them in the future. So we'll start out in a child pose for the beginning of the practice today. So just coming to, you can take the legs together or as wide as you like. Just take the bottom back towards the heels. The bottom might not quite touch the heels, but that's okay. And then just take the arms out in front and allow the forehead to come down towards the floor, taking a few breaths here. I'll just start the music actually, forgot that. So breathing into the upper back, just allowing the shoulder blades to separate as you breathe into them. And then just come up a little ways and just tuck the toes under, and just take the bottom back to the heels and resume your child pose with tucked toes. Now if you have arthritis and this is really uncomfortable for you, then just resume the one we were doing before without the tucked toes, just an option. Lifting up slightly, and just walk the hands round to the right and lowering back down, so stretching into that left side of the body. Walk the hands through centre, coming over to the left side and then folding down. centre, and then start to walk the hands in, and then just start to lift the knees up. I'm coming into a squat here, but we're going to keep the heels up, so if you can squat with the heels down, just concentrate on having the heels up and as up as you can, so you're trying to flex your toes sort of towards a 90-degree angle. Again, if you have arthritis, this can be really tough, so just listen to your body, and if this doesn't work for you, then just don't do it. And if you've got quite good balance and you're feeling quite stable, you might just take the hands towards a prayer. Take the opportunity to just find the breath here. Then just take the fingers back towards the floor, lower the knees down, and just walk the hands forward and find your way down towards your front. And once you're laying down onto your front, you might just rest the head onto the hands. Just take a moment to tick-tock the hips from side to side. And then coming back to stillness. And then really activate into the legs, so straighten the legs out, straighten the knees, pointing the toes, and then in with the cycle of your breath, start to lift the right leg up and then lower it back down. The importance of having the legs straight means that you're lifting the whole leg, the thigh as well, rather than just bending the knee. Aim to keep the pelvis flat towards the floor, so we're not trying to open out into the hip here. And then swap to the other leg. And then coming back to stillness, swapping back into the right leg, and now we're going to bend into the knee, so keep the toe pointed just to bend the knee, bring the heel in towards the bottom, and just straightening the leg out again. Take a couple of those. Next time the knee is in its bent position, option to reach the right hand back, and you might just pull it in a bit closer to the bottom, but be really gentle with yourself. Release the foot if you took it, and we're coming into the left side now, so bending into the knee and straightening out. Next time the knees bend, holding it there, and then you've got the option to reach the left hand back and bringing that heel in a bit close to the bottom. Releasing off, and then just kind of taking the elbows underneath the shoulders, finding a sphinx pose, elongating the neck, bringing the chest through, gazing in front. And if you're feeling open, you might press into the hands and lift the elbows, just find towards an all fours tabletop position. So from your tabletop position, start to dip the belly, take the chest through the shoulders, and then round into the back, gazing towards the belly button, moving between these two positions. And then coming back to a flat back position here, tucking the toes under, and then we're going to lift the knees up and we're going to find our downward facing dog. So from here, if you're feeling a little tight in the back of the legs, you might feel like pedaling the feet out here. And then just coming back to a still position. The toes and ripple the body forwards in towards a plank, and then we're going to move back towards our downward facing dog. So just take a few of those, moving forwards into plank and then back towards downward dog. Might want to bend the knees a bit as you come back, making it more like a wave movement. And then next time you're in your downward dog, holding it there. Lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. Point or flex the toes, stretching into the back of the left leg, aiming the heel towards the floor. And then bringing the right knee in towards the chest, hovering the knee under the nose, and then stepping the right foot forward, lower down towards the left knee, finding your low lunge, so your knee and your ankle are in alignment here. And we're just going to begin with a movement of straightening and bending into this right leg, just warming up a little further. Next time the knee is bent, meeting there, planting left hand, reaching right arm up to the ceiling, finding your simple twist, making sure your right knee isn't flopping out to the side, keeping it in line with the ankle. Lowering right hand down, planting right hand, reaching left arm up, twisting the other way. Lowering back down. And then just straighten into the right leg. We're going to hold our half split here. So if you want to intensify this, you can lower the chest towards the leg. Or you've got an option of, you can come back even further and sit on towards the left heel. And then you can lower towards the right leg. I find that creates more sensation for me, but if it doesn't feel good for you, then just stick with regular half splits. And then bending back in towards the right knee, coming forwards back towards your low lunge. Tuck the toes, and then take a step back towards your downward facing dog. And picking up the left leg, taking the left leg towards the ceiling. Bending into the knee, bringing the knee under the nose, and then stepping the foot forwards and lowering down towards the right knee. So we're in our low lunge on the left side now. I'm just going to take that straightening and bending movement. left knee is bent, we'll meet there, planting right hand into the floor, reaching left arm up towards the ceiling. Again, checking that the left knee is staying in line with the left ankle. Lowering left hand down, planting left hand, reaching right arm up towards the ceiling. Lowering down towards the floor, and then again we're straightening into the left leg, finding our half split here. So either staying in regular half split, or you can move the bottom back towards the right heel, lowering down a bit further here. Take a bend back in towards this left leg, planting the hands, and then step back towards your downward facing dog. Rippling the body forwards in towards a plank, option to drop to the knees, or you could just lower yourself all the way down to the floor. Keeping the hands under the shoulders, we're going to find a cobra, either low or high. Shoulders back, lifting the chest. Lowering down, tucking the toes, finding your downward facing dog. And then from our downward facing dog, lifting the right leg up to the ceiling. This time you might want to bend the knee and open the hip. So stacking the hips, having the knee as the highest point, really pulling that heel in towards the bottom, checking the shoulders are square, so aim your right armpit down towards the mat. And then turning and squaring the hips up, and then bringing the left leg through, stepping to the space between the hands, keeping the back knee off the ground this time. We're going to find our high lunge. So coming on towards the fingertips, and then lifting up in towards a high lunge. So you can either take the hands towards a prayer at the chest, or you could reach them up towards the ceiling. Making sure that your feet are hip distance so you're not on a tightrope here. And then taking your hands towards the prayer at the chest if you weren't already there. Turning around towards the right. And so you've got the option to stay here, or you could hook that left elbow over the right knee and take a twist. So either looking up, or you might look behind. Turning back square, and then taking the hands down towards the floor, and then just stepping back towards your downward facing dog. Again, you can either wait here, or you might come for a flow, so moving in towards your plank. You might drop all the way to the floor, you might hover in your chaturanga, you might take a cobra, you might take an upward facing dog. Bringing the chest through the shoulders, and then finding your toes back towards downward facing dog. Then lifting the left leg up towards the ceiling, bending the knee, opening the hip, stacking the hips. Bringing that left armpit down towards the floor, squaring the shoulders. Squaring the hips up, and then bringing that left knee through, and then stepping between the hands, and then coming up into your high lunge on the other side, reaching arms up, or keeping a prayer at the chest. And then taking the hands towards a prayer at the chest if you weren't already, turning around towards the left this time, and hooking that elbow over the knee, option here. taking the hands either side of the foot, taking a step back towards your downward facing dog, then your choice, waiting here or moving through a flow. So lowering down, upward facing dog, cobra, sphinx, downward facing dog. And again, lifting up the right leg, bending the knee, bringing it through to the space between the hands, planting that foot, coming up on towards the fingertips, finding our high lunge again. This time taking the hands behind the back and interlinking the fingers. So take a breath in, lifting the chest up, and then folding forwards. And you've got the option to lift the arms off the back. You may just find yourself more towards this right thigh. Try to avoid just resting on the thigh. You might find yourself coming down past the thigh. You could lift the arms off the back. Try to keep that left heel off the floor. So we're in lunge legs here. So it's a bit more of a balance, a little bit more challenging. And then releasing the hands, taking them either side of the foot and just straightening towards the right leg, so you've got quite a wide pyramid here. So remember, protect this knee, it doesn't have to fully straighten. If it has fully straightened, make sure it's not hyperextending. If you want to deepen this, you could reach the hands forward and lower the chest towards that right leg. And then lifting the chest, bending it towards the right knee, making sure you've got a little bit of room in front of you. And just take the hands to the floor, just in front of the right foot. And then just start to lift that left leg up off of the floor. Flex the foot, have the hips quite square here, so try not to open the hip. Try and have them nice and square. And then you can either stay here or you could lift the fingers off the floor, taking a prayer towards the chest, finding your warrior 3. Still keeping the breath here. Taking the hands back down towards the floor, taking a step back, and then stepping back with the right leg, either waiting in your down dog or finding your flow, moving through a vinyasa. And we'll all meet back in a downward facing dog. And then lifting left leg up towards the ceiling. And then stepping that left foot forward to the space between the hands. Back in towards our high lunge. And then taking the hands behind the back. And interlink the fingers, but interlink them the more opposite way. So have the opposite thumb on top. Take a breath in, lifting the chest up. And then diving down, folding forwards. You might lift the hands off of the back, making sure that right heel stays lifted up off the floor. Separating the hands, framing the foot. And then just start to straighten towards the left leg, so high pyramid. Wide leg pyramid, option to reach the hands a bit further forward, lowering down. Lifting the chest, making sure you've got space in front, having the left hands just in front of the left foot, and then starting to lift the right leg up, chucking the hips as square here. So you might stay here on towards your fingertips, or you might take the hands towards a prayer at the chest, finding your warrior 3. hands back down towards the floor, taking a step back towards your downward dog, and then again option, you might take a child pose or you might move through a flow. So inhale to plank, breathing out, lowering down, finding your back bend, inhaling, and then back towards downward facing dog. So adding on to what we've been doing, lifting up right leg. Again, you might want to bend the knee, stretching into the hip, squaring up, and then stepping the right leg through again. Make sure you've got space in front of you this time. So we're going to walk the hands forward again, and we're going to lift the left leg up, just as before. This time, rather than lifting up into warrior three, we're going to start lowering the chest down towards the right leg, lifting the left leg up to the ceiling, so finding our standing splits. Breathing. And if you want to add on to this and bring in a little bit of balance and strength, just lift the chest slightly, so your left leg probably isn't going to be quite as splitty if you're doing this variant. And then maybe walk the hands a little closer to the right leg. Maybe you might take your right wrist, your right hand around your right ankle, and you might take the left hand around the ankle as well, so you're just balancing on your leg. Super wobbly, super difficult. I'm wobbling as well, I might fall out of it, who knows. Breathing through this, and then taking the hands back to the floor, taking a step back with the left leg, finding your downward dog, and from here, please do take a child pose if you need to, or finding your flow, so moving through a vinyasa, finding your plank, lowering down, choosing a back bend, and then back towards your downward facing dog. So we're all meeting the downward dog. If you're in your child pose, find your downward dog again, lifting left leg up, bending the knees, stacking the hips if comfortable, squaring up, stepping through, so make sure you've got the space in front of you, walking the hands forwards, lifting the right leg up, and then from here just start to fold in towards the left leg, lifting the right leg up. You might point the toes, aiming towards the ceiling, and then option to go a bit further, slightly lifting the chest here, and then you might walk the hands a bit closer to the left ankle. You might hold on to the left ankle with the left hand, you might release it off, then you might hold on to the ankle with the right hand, and you might release it off, or you might take hold of both hands and get super wobbly here, feeling all of the muscles and tendons moving and working into the ankle and foot. Taking the hands back down towards the mat, taking a step back, finding a downward dog, moving through a flow, optional, lowering down, lifting the chest, making a back bend, downward facing dog. So we've got one more little sequence to do before we come into our yin postures, so don't worry, it won't be long before we can relax a bit more. So we're going to bring the feet to the top of the mat, so you could walk, step, or you could bend the knees and hop. Take a breath in, lifting the chest, breathing out, folding down. Breathing in, coming up, taking the arms up, touch the palms together. Breathing out, finding yourself in your mountain pose here. So for the next posture, I'm going to do a few variants of dancer pose. So we've really worked around this area of the body, so hopefully you're nice and warmed up here. Make sure you have a little space in front of you. And just starting off by centering and grounding yourself. So you might lift the toes and then lower them down. Move the body weight forwards and back a few times. And then you might just take the weight on towards the left leg and then lift the right heel up, bringing it in towards the bottom, holding around the heel with one or both hands initially. So just like we did at the beginning of the practice when we were laying down. And then lifting the left arm up towards the ceiling, reaching in towards the left fingertips. And then choose how you'd like to have the grip on towards your right ankle. You could hold it from the outside, or you could hold it from the inside, whatever works best for you. We're just going to start to tip forwards and lift that right leg up. So everyone's back's a different shape here, so you might be able to bring the leg quite high without having to come forward that far. Or you might find that you tip forward quite a long way. Just depends on the shape of your back. Try to keep the right knee from splaying out to the side. And if you want to take this a bit further, start to fold forwards and then slowly bring the left fingertips down towards the floor so they're touching. So keeping hold of that right ankle and just really trying to reach into that foot. Press the foot into the hand and the hand into the foot. And then slowly bringing that foot back in towards the bottom and then finding your way back upright and releasing out of the posture. Take a moment to shake out and then preparing for the other side. So if you need to lift the toes and ground them again, maybe sway backwards and forwards a little. Once you feel nice and grounded and balanced, bringing the left heel in towards the bottom, just holding it here for a moment, trying to keep the back straight here, and then reaching right arm up towards the ceiling. I mean, this might be enough for you. You might not feel the need to go any further than this. If you want to come a little further, then choose your grip, so inside or outside of the ankle, and then start to come forwards into your dancer pose. If you want to take this a little bit further, taking the right hand down towards the mat. Once you're sort of grounded here a bit, start to push that left hand in towards the ankle. And then from here, just releasing the grip, and we're all going to find a forward fold. So from your forward fold, just bring the chest in towards the legs, bring the nose in towards the knees. And then start to walk the hands out in front and walk the feet back. And find your downward facing dog. And then we're going to just drop the knees down towards the floor. And we're going to begin our yin practice from here. So we'll start off with a nice wide leg child pose. So take the knees maybe as wide as is comfortable. And start bringing the bottom back towards the heels, lowering the chest down, lowering the forehead down to the floor. If that's not comfortable, you might have a block handy or a cushion. Just finding some space for the next few minutes. About 2 minutes here. Just asking yourself, where can I find softness? towards a 4-point kneeling, bringing the knees back underneath the hips, and then have enough space in front of you to start walking the hands forward. We're going to find our melting heart pose or our puppy pose, so keep the knees and hips in line. So we're lowering down either towards the forehead or towards the chin and chest, bearing in mind we're going to be here about 2 minutes, so don't overextend here. And during yin postures, I tend not to talk that much, so I am quite quiet during a yin practice. I find people prefer that, so if you're wondering why it's all gone quiet, it's quite normal for a yin practice for the teacher not to talk too much, apart from giving the odd cue. About half a minute left to go. And then just really slowly start to walk the hands back in, and then find your way back to a 4-point kneeling position, and do what feels good here. So you might want to take some cat-cow stretches. It might help to just release the back. And the next posture is easiest to enter from a downward facing dog. So just tuck the toes under and lifting the bottom up. We're going to pick up the right leg and we're going to take it to the outside of the right hand, lowering down towards the left knee. And then from here you can either stay up on towards your hands, or you can lower down towards your forearms. And I know I'm not using any props today, but if you do have props like blocks, it's quite nice to have something underneath your forehead, or maybe if you can't quite get the elbows down, it's nice to prop yourself up on a block, so if you're in that in-between sort of space. So once you've found a place that you can just be in, you're feeling sensation, but it's not painful, and just it's okay for the right knee to drop out a bit here. You might naturally roll onto the outer edge of the right foot, that's fine. It's in yin yoga, we're just allowing the body to find its own space here. And then breathe. Just a reminder that yin yoga doesn't mean you have to hold a position and suffer. If it's not comfortable, you are allowed to move. Just come out, release off, or deepen. And then from here, if you went down onto your elbows, just find your way back up towards your hands. And just lift up that back knee, creating a bit more space for yourself. And just heel toe the right foot across. And then bring your right knee down behind your right wrist. And lower back down. We're going to find our pigeon pose. Now, if pigeon pose doesn't work for you, you can always lay onto your back and take a figure of 4 stretch here. But in our pigeon, you can either choose to stay upright if that serves you best today, or you can fold forwards. Again, remember, we're going to be here for about 2 minutes, so only come forwards if you really think that it feels quite comfortable, quite okay. You might rest on the forearms, or you might lower all the way down to the floor. Halfway through. So 1 more minute here. Really slowly, just start to walk yourself back in, coming back to an upright pigeon. If you're on your back, just coming around slowly, and we're all going to meet in a 4-point kneeling. And just do what feels good for this right leg. So you might want to stretch it out, you might want to do a few hip circles here. We're going to take that little sequence on the other side. So finding your toes and just make your way back towards that downward facing dog. And then bringing the left foot to the outside of the left hand and lower down towards the right knee. And then again, get yourself settled here. So you might want to stay up on towards the hands, or you might want to lower down towards your elbows, taking this posture on the forearms, and that left knee might want to open out a little bit. That's okay. your forearms. Just make your way back up on towards the palms of the hands, and then just lift up that back knee and just heel toe your left foot across, and then lower your left knee behind your left wrist, finding your pigeon on the other side. Again, if you want to come onto your back and do a figure of four stretch, if that works better for you, then take that. So again, you can either be upright here, or you can start to fold down towards the floor. Really slowly, just start to walk the hands back in, and then lifting up, tucking the toes, and just find your way back to a 4-point kneeling. If you're on your back and you took your figure of four, just stay on your back, because we'll all be meeting there in a moment. And then just really stretch the left leg out. We'll take some hip circles if that feels good. Onto our backs. So just lower yourself down. And then from here, have the knees together and the feet together. And just let the knees drop out to the sides. So we're in a reclined butterfly here. And if you have equipment like blocks, you might want to just wedge them under the legs for a bit of comfort here. And then the hands, just take them wherever is comfortable. You might rest them on the thighs, you might rest on the tummy. You might prefer to take them up overhead. Just relaxing here. heel toe, the feet in together. I'm going to take some twists next. So there's going to be a few options here. So I'm going to take a twist called cattail pose. Now this is quite a challenging twist, so you might want to take a few variants that are a little less strong. So starting off, take the left leg out straight and bring the right knee in towards the chest. Take the right arm out towards the side and just start to guide the right leg across the body. If you want to scooch the hips over to the left, the right a bit, go ahead, and just dropping the right knee over towards the floor. Now you might stay here with this, or you might want to bend in towards the left leg, and you might want to take the right hand and take hold of the left ankle or foot. So you're here, making sure both shoulder blades are down towards the floor. Now there is an option, but I don't have space to demonstrate on this side, where you can straighten the right leg out and hold on to the right foot as well. That's really strong, so obviously making sure both shoulder blades are still on the floor. This is too much, just dial it down to one of the other options, maybe not holding the feet. And then really slowly, I'm going to release out of here. So starting off, just letting go of the left leg, allowing it to straighten out. Bending the right leg in if you straightened it. And just roll back on towards your back. And just bring both knees in towards the chest. And just gently rock, massaging the back into the floor. And then coming into the other side, I'm going to straighten the right leg out along the floor and bring the left knee in towards the chest. You might want to lift the hips up, taking them over to the left a bit, taking left arm out to the side and just start to guide the left leg across the body. This might be where you stay. Or you could bend in towards the right knee, reaching the right hand down, taking hold of the foot or the ankle, checking in both shoulder blades are still on the floor, and then there's the option to straighten out the left leg, holding onto the left shin, ankle, foot. Again, checking both shoulder blades are still down towards the floor. to come out of this, starting off, if you've got that left leg straight, just bend back into the knee, letting go of the right ankle, and then moving back to a central position, and just bring the knees into the chest, holding around the shins or the backs of the thighs, and just gently massage the back into the floor. If you took the deepest option of cat-tail pose, then it's a huge twist. So just give your back time to settle after this. And then just separate the knees out about the distance of the shoulders, flexing in towards the feet. You can take hold of the ankles or you can take hold of the feet, and then just coming in towards happy baby pose, aiming the knees down towards the armpits. Just keep the elbows on the inside of the legs, helping with stability. Holding here for a few moments. You might rock gently from side to side. And then from here, just releasing the feet or the ankles if you took them, bringing the knees back in, just wrap the forearms around the shins. You might lift the forehead up towards the knees, squeezing tightly, and then just releasing out. I'm going to find Shavasana from here. So just taking up space on the floor, you can take it however way you want. If you want to stop the video and take Shavasana in your own time, then go ahead and do that. If you want to do Shavasana with me, then I'll probably keep you here about 2 minutes, and then you'll hear the singing bowl, and then we'll close the practice together. It's just making yourself comfortable, make sure that you're warm, close the eyes, and just let go. take a few deep breaths. And then begin to bring movement back in. Starting off with small movements. And then just make them more expansive. So if it feels good to stretch here, we'll bring the knees into the chest and hug them in close. And then just choose a side to roll over to, lingering there a moment. And then when you're ready, just start to make your way round to a seated position. If your eyes are still closed, just allow them to open. And then once seated, collectively reaching the arms up, touch the palms together, bringing the hands down towards the centre of the chest. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. Hope you enjoyed this class. It was a bit different. Please do give feedback in the comments below. Let me know if I should do anything similar in the future. Thank you.